Brooklyn. Now I'm down in Tribeca, right next to the Narrow.
I first visited New York City in 1985, and I must have been about 7 years old. My parents tried to take my brothers and me on vacation outside of California at least once a year, and it was about that time that we went to the East Coast so that I could finally meet some of my family who lived in Queens. So it was the first time that I had seen the Statue of Liberty, and the Empire State Building, and Rockefeller Center, and believe it or not, as a 7-year-old kid, I definitely knew that I wanted to come back. Maybe it was the people and the energy, or maybe it was just that New York had these really huge slices of pizza. But I knew that I just got a little taste of what New York had to offer, and I knew that I definitely needed to come back. In 1999, I was in college, and I was able to save enough money to take my second trip to New York, but this time I would go with some of my friends and not with my family members. It was during this trip that I saw a different side of New York. Not only did I do some of the typical touristy things that I did when I was a kid, but I was also able to visit places that I hadn't been to before, places like Greenwich Village, or Soho, or Harlem. It was during this trip that I actually saw my first Broadway show. It was Miss Saigon, starring our very own Lea Salonga. And so it was my first chance to really fall in love with the Broadway stage, something that I still love to do today. I think the most important part of this trip was that it afforded me the opportunity to connect with some of my family members. So I had met them and had fun with them when I was a child. To get to really know them as people and to know them as adults is something that was really, really important to me. And so I came back to New York in 2000 and again in 2001 because I really wanted the opportunity to be a part of my family's life here in New York. In 2002, I was 24 years old, and I was finishing up my master's degree from Michigan State University, and I discovered that I was accepted into the PhD program in counseling psychology from Teachers College, Columbia University in New York City. So I packed up my bags and moved to the city that never sleeps, not knowing what was in store for me, but excited nonetheless. I was in the counseling psych program for 6 years, and there was never a dull moment in sight. I've lived in a lot of different neighborhoods in New York. Well, actually, I've lived in all of the gay neighborhoods in New York. I first moved in with some friends from college in the West Village, and my apartment was a tiny room in a really tiny apartment. My second apartment was in Hell's Kitchen, and it was a studio where I lived for about 6 years. And I finally ended up here in Chelsea in a one-bedroom. Much more spacious than the prior two. I think that regardless of where I've lived in New York, my apartment has always been a reflection of who I am and where my journey has taken me this far. And I've loved every single place that I've lived, and I can't wait to see where I end up next. Professionally, I've come a really long way since I first moved here. I mean, I came here as a lowly doctoral student. I graduated in 2008, and now, 4 years later, I feel really blessed and lucky to have got all the different opportunities that I have. I mean, I've written a few books, I've gone on a few national tours, I've had many media appearances, both on the national and international levels. But I really don't think that my career would have gotten this far had I not lived in the greatest city in the world. Probably the best thing about living in New York are the people and the friendships I've made. While I've definitely made some amazing friends throughout my lifetime, there's just something really fascinating about being in New York and meeting people randomly and then them becoming some of your closest friends. I mean, I think about my friend Daniel, who I met on a dance floor in the West Village in 2004, or my friend Hannah, who I met at a spelling bee in Brooklyn in 2008. I mean, I think every time you meet somebody new in New York, they're meant to be in your life for some reason or another. And sometimes what I find amazing is that they may not even realize how much of an impact they've had in your life, and how much they've really changed you for the better. In May of 2012, I celebrated my 10-year anniversary of living in New York City. They say that once you hit 10 years in New York, you could actually call yourself a New Yorker instead of just a New York transplant, and I am happy to accept my membership card. Every May, I've celebrated my birthday and my anniversary in New York with a huge extravaganza. And so in the past, I've had a red carpet party, and Halloween in May, and I Love the 90s. And even last year when I turned 33, I had a resurrection party because that was the year that Jesus died. But anyway, so this year, because it was my 10-year anniversary, I decided to have an I Love New York party, or I Heart NY, and everyone would be encouraged to dress in New York-themed costumes. And it was fantastic. There were so many different creative costumes, including a playbill and taxi cab drivers and subway trains and the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, just to name a few. I was just enchanted by the energy in the room, which definitely was helped by the awesome cover band as well as the alcohol. My costume needed to be iconic New York, and I think I did a pretty decent job.
Spreading the news, I'm leaving today. I want to be a part of it. New York, New York. These vagabond shoes are longing to stray right through the very heart of it. New York, New York. I want to wake up in the city that never sleeps, and climb out of the hill, top of the heap. These little town blues are rolling away. I wanna make a brand new start of it in old New York. If I can fucking make it there, I can fucking make it anywhere. It's up to you, New York, New York. Wake up in the city that doesn't sleep, and I'm king of the hill, hey #1, queen of the night, hey #1. Town blue. It's up to you, New York, New York. New York.
have I grown in the past 10 years? Well, for starters, I was once just a 24-year-old kid who was in search of a dream, and now I'm a 34-year-old man whose life often feels like a dream. So I really do want to thank all of my friends who have been so supportive over the past 10 years. You've given me so much strength and given me so much love, and I'll be eternally grateful. I also want to thank all the strangers and the passers-by who really make the city go round. And to all of the future friends and lovers that I'll make here in New York, I can't wait to meet you.
Long walks in